Hello, this is укрлайф TV, and we continue our broadcasting from Kiev. And today we have a special guest. Our guest today is Itai Anghel. He is an Israel news correspondent. He covers many wars in different parts of the world, in Croatia, in Rwanda, in Kosovo, in Afghanistan. And from 2022, he covered Russian war against Ukraine.
Kibbutz Nir Oz. People were burned alive, executed. For the past 10 years I've been covering mainly ISIS.
قطعت رأس كم شخص؟
بمقارب 70.
The genocide in Syria, Iraq. Bucha in Ukraine. I never thought anything like it would hit my country. Burning people alive, execution of entire villages, beheading. Everything is here. Everything.
Itai, hello, and thank you so much to be with us today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Itai, you have seen too many wars, and now big war is in your country. I saw your video story about kibbutzim, and it is a great journalist work, but it is horrible things happened. And what happened in Israel right now, and what challenges that Israel have right now? Because I understand it's not just a war; it's much more deeper problem.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me and being interested in what is happening here. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, a horrible attack of hundreds of Hamas terrorists from Gaza entered the villages in Israel and started slaughtering people. I really find it problematic even to say it aloud, but they butchered babies, old men and women, raped women, kidnapped, babies, women and elderlies, took them away. Those who they did not burn alive, they tortured them. Beside the cruelty, I think also the Israeli military thinks, like, how could it happen? This is, going out of the military, and our intelligence was a monumental failure. Anyway, they abused it, and more than 1,500 Israelis are killed, slaughtered, and about 220 people are now kidnapped inside Gaza. And I've been to Nir Oz. Nir Oz is a kibbutz about 2 kilometers from Gaza. Most of the kibbutz was completely burned. Quarter of the population, imagine there is about 400 people used to live in the kibbutz. Now more than quarter, more than 100 are either dead, slaughtered, or abducted, and now they are in Gaza. And inside, when you venture around, Lyudmila, I see things that I never imagined would come to my country. As you mentioned, I've been all over. I've been 5 times in Iraq, 5 times in Syria. I documented massacres, genocide over there. I documented the massacre in Bucha. I thought these are things, horrible things, but they will never be relevant to my country. But everything has happened in my country. All the worst form of torture and killing are there. For me, it was moment of shock. I have a kid, 5 years old, and when I'm filming alone. I'm doing filming, sound, and my correspondent work all by myself. I'm a one-man band. I can have a very stable end, but when I've been to the kids' room and they have like books for little kids and a pillow, with a portrait of Spider-Man, exactly like my son has in his room. But the boy who was lived in that room was burned alive, along with his sister, who was 4 years old. And this is crazy, and I'm absolutely trembling. And, I think about a child who is survived. How is he going to live? Because he saw his mother being slaughtered in front of his eyes, and his father as well. And imagine he somehow stayed alive. Two other brothers and sisters, one brother and one sister, are not alive. Think only about the psychological effect. I know how the psychological effect still exists in Ukraine. So many atrocities you've been through. And it is amazing. When I've been to Ukraine, so many people ask me, you're from Israel, you have such a big experience. Help us, military, help us, in regard of intelligence. So many things you can provide us with professional help. Also about how to treat people who are traumatized. And look how everything turned upside down. Now we are looking for people who survived Bucha, to tell us how to keep on going. This is completely crazy. This is nothing that we expected.
For 17 days, Israeli ground troops and tanks have been on standby, idling in the dusty fields around Gaza. This is the beginning or the first phrase of big articles in New York Times and many newspapers all over the world today say about Israel and about the future on this ground operation. What do you think? What will happen, and what is, challenges which Israel have with this ground operation? Because it will not be simple. I understand that, of course.
No, it's going to be horrendous. It's going to be so difficult and so complicated, and unfortunately, a lot of people are going to die. A lot of innocent people are going to die. A lot of our soldiers are going to die because we have to get inside Gaza. There is no other way. I mean, this is the place where people, in hundreds come to massacre our women and children. So you got to go there. You got to try to bring down the Hamas terror regime in a way that he won't be able to do it again. So unfortunately, you got to get inside Gaza. And I say unfortunately because I've been to Gaza quite a few times. And this place is impossible. And don't think about what you see above the earth. Underground, it is a very complicated and sophisticated network of tunnels. And it was built for many, many years. And, Israeli soldier, Israeli platoon will get there. They're under threat from mines, from booby traps, from terrorists jumping from all over. It's going to be super, super, super complicated. And this is why, in the past, Israel chosen not to do it, not to go on a ground attack inside Gaza. Now we have no choice. Because we figure that if we don't do it, this is the enemy, 2 kilometers, sometimes a few hundred meters from our home, and he will do it again. And nobody would be willing to make his living, any Israeli, in there unless he knows that Hamas regime will be brought down. This is the intention. It's not happening for the moment. It might happen in any minute, but it might take a few days, maybe a week, or maybe even 2 weeks, because there is a lot of diplomacy going on. You have the American President Joe Biden, you have the French President Macron now in Israel, and everyone is trying to convince Israel to wait a little bit, because if we wait, there is a chance for more people who were kidnapped to be brought home. And this is the most important thing for Israel. The most important thing for us is to bring the Israelis who are in Gaza back home. Now, personally, I would have released all the prisoners of Hamas that we have in Israel in order to get all our prisoners and all the people who are hijacked in there. I just want them alive, back to their families, the little kids back to their life, all the civilian back, and I would pay the price in setting, back to Gaza, all the terrorists of Hamas that's sitting in our prison. But, it's such a complicated issue, and so many conflicts, within Israel, what should be done and what should not be done, because some people would say if you release the prisoners, you succumb to terrorism. But I mean, if you're not, you're putting their life on the line. It is a very serious argument. I mean, this is my point of view, but there are people who think in a different manner.
Itai, what's happened? It is horrible things, but we see a lot of pro-Palestine protests all over the world, and from the point of view, it seems like Israel could lose this, sorry, but informational war. We understand that because we have the same situation, Ukraine, after the beginning of the war, after all horrible things in Ukraine, we need to explain, all over the world what's happened. And I think that Israel have maybe the same problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that Israel has any chance in a propaganda war. Hamas and the Palestinians will always have the upper hand, especially, because most of the people wouldn't listen. Even when a missile hit, near the Gaza hospital, people say, yeah, it is the Israelis. Now everybody knows that it is the Islamic Jihad from Gaza. But, the people who heard the news, this is the Israeli who have done it, they wouldn't change their mind. So it is useless. There are very few Jewish people in the world. There are a lot of Muslim countries and Muslim regime, that would do anything against Israel. They didn't care, that Israelis were slaughtered. Immediately they say that it is the fault of Israel. And some European countries tend to, to be anti-Israel like they always did. So I gotta tell you, this is how we live. Most of the world didn't want Jewish people. Some parts of the world wouldn't like the Israeli state to exist. In terms of propaganda, they would present the Palestinian as the underdog, even though some of them are rapists and murderers and people who commit the worst war crimes on earth. And I see even no use in trying to combat it. I mean, we know who we are and we know who we are fighting against. And I think a lot of Ukrainians would understand it, because a lot of Russian would explain to the world why what happened in Bucha was done by Ukrainian people. A lot of Russian sympathizers would say that, in Kiev, you could see the swastikas and people hailing Hitler, and that would be part of the propaganda. So what you can do against it? You will fight it. These people are against me, against my existence, against me bringing kids to the world, against me having a country. So we will lose the propaganda war, but we are fighting for our life. It is much bigger and more important than publicity, especially in the world of such a fake news.
Itai, at the very beginning of your interview, you say about the Ukraine. And I would tell our audience that you produced great documentary films. One of them is The Battle of Kiev in 2022 and Alone in Donbass in March 2023. I have seen these films. It's really great films. But it is, but it is not films about the war. It is film from the battlefield, from the front line. And I was so impressed about your communication with Ukrainian soldiers, officers, and how you stay on this front line. And it is absolutely unbelievable words of Ukrainian soldiers when they remember the war which Israel have. And it was very interesting comparison. Maybe you could say something about these films which you produced, and I hope that Ukrainians maybe will have possibility to see these films.
Sure. Thank you for the kind words. My first documentary was at the beginning of the war. I began filming 2 days before the war began, and I stayed for the first month. So I was in Kiev, I was in Irpin, I was in Bucha, I was all around. The same thing I did a few months later in Donbass. I was embedded with Ukrainian soldiers in Toretsk. Then I went inside Bakhmut. And I really want to show from within how it looks like. Being a journalist, I believe that you have to be in the field, especially now, when people are mainly in media in Israel and all over the world are speaking in studios. Some of them might be very intelligent people, but they're not going to the field. They talk about places they've never been in. They explaining and commentating about people they never met. So for me, as long as I'm strong physically and mentally, I would go everywhere. So it was important for me to go to the very front line with Ukrainian people. Now, what was striking for me, and it became even more striking after the attack that we in Israel suffered, is that few of the Ukrainian soldiers, one of them, Mykola, we are 1 kilometer from the Russian forces in Donbass.
I remember,
And he speaks to me about Yom Kippur War. Yom Kippur War was a disaster for Israel. It happened 50 years ago. Israel was surprised by Egypt. And Mykola was very much interested in it because, it was like the shock that Ukraine was attacked in 2022, like a complete shock. Like, how could it happen? It took us by surprise. Then we got to our senses and we began to fight. But he was interested also militarily speaking, like how we operated, what is the Israeli army. In Israel, every boy and girl have to go to the army. Boys at least for 3 years, women at least for 2 years. And if you want to become officer, it can be 5, 6, a pilot, at least 7 years. So we are supposed to be so well prepared. And we might set example, for Ukraine, like how military should work, because the brightest minds in Israel, we are a high-tech nation, we are a startup nation, and all the brightest minds help also the Israeli army with technology. So we became excellent in our potential. And because of our excellency, the failure what happened in October 7th in the south of Israel was so big. It is really, it's a monumental failure. And I remember my Ukrainian friends called me again, what happened? How could it happen? And I have no answer. And no Israeli has any answers. It was a big failure. And after this war, it might take a very long time, by the way, this war, people will investigate very thoroughly what happened, and definitely a lot of people would would leave the job and would be fired and would have to pay the price because it was not supposed to happen.
Itai, you saw so many wars. Do you think that all wars are similar or all wars are different?
I don't think that, everything is completely the same. Some wars, most of the wars are very stupid wars. Some of them could be evade, some of them you think, what a pity that people fought for so long and lost so many lives for what? And some of the wars you have no chance. I mean, sorry to come back again to Ukraine, but if you're attacked, I mean, I heard some people say, let's not react against Russia. Let's let them have the territories that they want to have. But on the other side, you know that if they will take, either Mariupol or Crimea and Donbass, they will breathe a little bit, they will rest a little bit, and they will take more. Because according to them, Ukraine is not a country. Ukrainian people are not a nation. It belongs to Russia. So you have to fight. And if you will not fight, you will be annihilated. You will be demolished. There will be nothing of the name of Ukraine. Now, we live in a country surrounded by enemies. People don't want us to live, don't want us to be here. No one said that Israel is something, that can exist. This is why we have to invest so much of our wealth and economy in the army. We have no choice. But in this war, to your question, is like no choice. I mean, when people are being slaughtered, like more than 1,500 people, more, this is the biggest massacre in the history of the state of Israel. And it is amazing, since the Holocaust, people are speaking, nothing happened like that. So we have to fight because this is a war that we cannot say, let's forget about it. Even the people who oppose war at any time, say, no, something should be done now.
Itai, thank you so much to be with us. I know how you're busy right now, but nevertheless, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyudmila. Thank you for your time. And again, all the best for the Ukrainian people in their fight. And hopefully, Ukrainian people, Israeli people, and the innocent Palestinian people, will have better times in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Itai Anghel was our guest today.